Back on Capitol Hill today, Senate committee hears from experts who warn predators are targeting and manipulating young people online. A growing
child is at risk if he or she has access to the internet. And yes, you need to be monitoring them now. Here's why.
In April 2024, a 15-year-old autistic boy named Ethan Dallas killed himself. 4 months earlier, he had told his mother he was being groomed on Roblox by a user pretending to be a kid named Nate. That user taught Nathan how to disable his parental controls, moved the conversation to Discord, and threatened him until he had explicitly sent photos of himself. Nate was a 37-year-old man named Timothy O'Connor who had already been charged with possession of child pornography in 2021. Ethan is not alone, because in December 2024, a 13-year-old girl named Audree Heine died by suicide 1 week after her birthday. She had been manipulated for months by a Roblox community called the True Crime Community, a group that glorifies mass shooters like the Columbine Massacre and encourages self-harm. The FBI has confirmed victims as young as 6 years old have been targeted on Roblox, and between October 2022 and March 2023, sextortion reports nationwide increased by 20%. At least 20 children died by suicide. But that's not all, because in February 2026, an 18-year-old named Jesse Van Rootselaar walked into TUMBLER Ridge Secondary School in British Columbia and shot 9 people dead. 3 12-year-old girls, 2 boys aged between 12 and 13, a 39-year-old teacher and his own mother, and his 11-year-old stepbrother. Before the attack, he created a Roblox game that allowed users to simulate mass shooting at a mall. The account was only removed after the shooting, and a separate investigation by the Anti-Defamation League found a community on Roblox called Active Shooter Studios, where users recreated Columbine, Overlake, and Parkland, down to playing as Eric Harris and Dylan Clackbold, maiming virtual students and committing suicide when police arrived. A teacher in Maryland named Mark Edward Cobb used Roblox to connect to a 9-year-old former student. He asked if he could taste her. Investigators found over 100 files of child sexual abuse material on his hard drive and a bag of children's underwear in his home. This is Volume 3 of the Roblox Disturbing Iceberg series, and unlike my other ones that I've done, which mainly focus about stuff inside Roblox and Discord, this time it's different, because this iceberg heavily focuses on real true crime cases and actual school shootings that have a connection to Roblox.
I mean, this is news that no parent wants to hear ever, but especially during the first week of school. Also serves as a big reminder, you got to stay plugged in to what your kids are doing online at all times. So this is Mark Cobb. Take a look at your screen. He's 44 years old, and he is indeed a teacher here at Cooper Lane Elementary. He was just charged with, in part, sending messages to a former student
of his who's under 10 years old because he wanted to, according to court documents, see how far it would go, asking for and then receiving.
Audree Heine was a 13-year-old girl. She lived in Florence, Kentucky, and she loved playing Nirvana on her guitar. She loved drawing anime characters, and she loved reading the Spy School book series. Her mother, Jameen Snitz, described her as one of her kind. A week after her 13th birthday, Audree died by suicide. At first, Jamie thought it was just an accident, as she couldn't believe her daughter would take her own life. Then a detective called her into his office, and what he showed her changed her everything. Audree had been keeping a journal filled with references to the Columbine shooters. On the cover, Audree had written her name as Audrey Clackbold, the same last name as Dylan Clackbold, one of the 2 shooters who killed 13 people at Columbine High School in 1999. Inside the journal, Audree had handwritten the same phrases hundreds of times. Natural selection. Eric Harris, the other Columbine shooter, had worn a t-shirt with those exact same words on the day of the massacre. And then the detective showed Jimmy something worse. Audree had written a countdown to her own death. She was pushed to suicide, said Alexander Walsh, the attorney representing Audree's estate. Exposed to emotional manipulation and social pressure by other users, including the TCC members who claim to revive the Columbine shooters. So how did Audree found this community? She was 8 years old when she first encountered TCC. She started in Roblox, then moved to Discord, and eventually to TikTok. The group gave her a sense of belonging. I think she felt a sense of comfort with this group, with being a part of something, her mother said. And I believe that they pushed her to do it. The disturbing part is that Jimmy had parental controls on Audree's phone. She monitored what she could do. She never heard her daughter talk about school shooters, especially at her age. And she also had no idea what TCC meant. But after Audree died, Jimmy searched true crime community on TikTok, and the drawings she recognized was from her daughter's sketchbook flooded the screen. Cartoon illustrations Audree had drawn depicted the Columbine perpetrators, and a previous TikTok username of Audree had referenced one of the shooters by name. There was even a t-shirt. Audree had asked for a shirt for a German industrial band, the same shirt Eric Harris and Dylan Kleckbook wore in 1999. Jimmy said, everything started to click within seconds. She now believes that what she found Audree after her death, with her phone positioned a certain way, her daughter was attempting to livestream her suicide. That's something extremism experts have seen in TCC and in other extremist groups. The desire for notoriety, even in death. Audree's case is not an isolated one, as the FBI has seen a 300% increase in what they call nihilistic violent extremism. Cases from September 2024 to September 2025 has increased since then. And the FBI director, Kash Patel, called it one of the most serious issues in America. At least 7 recent school shootings in the United States have been linked to TCC. 11 people killed, 53 injured. 5 of the shooters took their own lives, avoiding accountability. Audree was 13, she was in 7th grade, and she was being groomed by a community that exists, in large part, on Roblox. Which brings me to the group itself, at the center of this. There's a group on Roblox called the Active Shooter Studios, which was the original name of TCC. The acronym is ASS. According to a report published on April 2025 by the Anti-Defamation League centered on extremism, this group has attracted hundreds of fans on Roblox with detailed recreations of mass shootings, including Columbine, Uvalde, Parkland, and Virginia Tech. Let me exactly read you what the Anti-Defamation League found. Quote, the maps created by ASS are not as simple as game environments. They are disturbingly graphic and detailed, designed to mimic mass shootings as they're based on with unsettling accuracy and gore. End quote. Let me give you specific examples on this. One of ASS' most infamous maps is called Carbine. It recreates the 1989 Columbine shooting, as players can take the role of Eric Harris and Dylan Kleckbook, the actual perpetrators that caused this. And you can walk through the recreation of Columbine High School. You can shoot virtual students. You can maim and dismember other characters. And when police arrive in the game, you either die fighting or commit suicide. Another map is based on the 2022 Uvalde shooting at Robb Elementary School. In this map, students, clearly depicted as children, are programmed to hide under desks or play dead when the shooting begins. You can alter your avatar's appearances to look like the assassinator. The ADL reports that ASS is led by a developer using Railsrick. They work closely with another developer called Skinless, who focuses on creating weapons animation. These creators are not hiding, as according to the ADL, ASS had a Roblox group containing about 800 members where leaders shared announcements and promoted the Discord servers. When Bloomberg reporters observed one ASS group game, more than 60 players gathered in a recreation of Columbine, and many of them formed a mob in front of a school holding pitchforks and repeating the white supremacist slogan, "You will not replace us." Players with guns shot students, while other players dressed as police officers tried to gun down the attackers. Roblox shut the group down after being contacted by the ADL, but here's the problem. Later that same day, new shooting games advertising its connection to ASS appeared, and attracted more than 1,000 visits before Roblox removed it. Then another one appeared, and then another one. The group adapted. According to the ADL report, ASS started hosting games on paid Roblox servers. In private servers, the creator controls who joins, which means less risk of it being reported, less risk of it being detected by the Roblox moderation. A Roblox spokesperson told the Bloomberg, "Roblox is committing safety to civility, and our community standards explicitly prohibit any content or behavior that depicts, supports, glorifies, or promotes terrorist or extremist organizations in any way." But the ADL report makes it clear that despite these policies, the content still persists. As the report notes that while ASS may be the most prominent group within the true crime community creating these maps, they are not the only ones, as a COE analysts have discovered that other individuals are developing similar content for Roblox, indicating that this troubling trend is gaining traction within the TCC subculture. The ADL also raised a critical question. What steps of platforms such as these are taking to prevent the abuse of private spaces for the dissemination of these recreations? How are these platforms working together around this in order to prevent its spread between other platforms? And I'll tell you the answer from this. It's not enough.
The Speaker of the Texas House wants lawmakers to investigate Roblox over its child safety rules. Speaker Justin Burrows says the platform recently offered a first-person shooter game simulating the Uvalde school shooting. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has more on the investigation and joins us now live. Amelia.
David Reedman is an assistant professor at Ohio State University who created a database to track school shootings. He has studied how children get put into TCC, and here's what he found. TCC appeals to young people who are experiencing bullying or feel like they don't fit in. You start to meet people that will like all your photos and will share your content and are inviting you to come to their private chats, Reedman said. Now you have this community that you don't have anywhere else. The grooming process works like this. An adult or older teenager finds a child on Roblox. They play games together. They become friends. The adult gains trust. Then they invite the child to move off of Roblox and into a private, encrypted Discord server. Once there, the adult has more control, less oversight, and the child is exposed to gore videos, extremist ideology, and pressure to escalate. And as one expert puts it, once the adult has used the game to gain trust, they will invite kids to move off of Roblox and into a completely private Discord server. This process of grooming is how middle kids get involved into TCC. Inside these communities, children are engaged to self-harm, to idolize mass shooters, and to see violence as a solution, to level up by providing their loyalty, sometimes through real-world action. And by October 2025, many families had filed lawsuits against Roblox and Discord that a motion was filed to consolidate these cases into one court. According to Mall Law Group, which was handling multiple Roblox litigation cases, Roblox faced over 35 lawsuits as of November 2025. Many of these lawsuits allege that the platform allowed sexual predators and extremists to contact children, even when those children are not already connected to predators on other platforms. One lawsuit was filed by Jimmy Slitch on behalf of Audree Heine's estate, alleged that the platform's algorithms and award systems are intentionally designed to maximize user engagement, including among minors, despite knowing that these features can expose children to violent and predatory content. Another lawsuit filed in California alleged that a 14-year-old girl was groomed on Roblox, then moved to Discord where the predator sent sexually explicit images, and later attempted to carry out in-person sexual assault, only stopped by law enforcement a few days later. And then there's a case of a YouTuber named Schlep. He was groomed on Roblox as a child by a popular developer. He says that abuse got so bad that he attempted to commit suicide. When his mother reported the developer to Roblox, they brushed her off. The predator went on to groom more victims before Roblox finally banned him years later after. Now Schlep hunts predators on Roblox. He says his efforts have resulted in 6 arrests. But here's the problem. Roblox permanently banned him for doing it. They sent him a cease and desist letter accusing him of unauthorized and harmful activities. they threaten legal action if he makes a new account. Roblox's statement on the matter: "We believe that safety enforcement should be left to trained professional and proper authorities, not individual users." But when SLEP submits evidence to Roblox through their official reporting system with chat logs, usernames, timestamps, and arrest records, nothing happens. He says, "In a lot of instances, Roblox won't even ban after we reach out to them regarding felony arrest." The only time Roblox takes action, according to SLEP and fellow predator hunter Jidon, is when the YouTube video drops and public backlash forces Roblox to do something about it. The true crime community on Roblox is something to be taken into serious matter, as it is a well-documented, active, growing network of extremists who use Roblox to recruit children. And who knows, as there are many communities out there on Roblox who promote the exact same thing, just hiding under the rug. Many children young as 8 years old are being exposed to graphic recreations of mass shootings. They're being taught to idolize murderers. They're being pushed towards self-harm and violence. Roblox has policies against this content. They have moderation, and they have a community standards. However, none of this is working. Because the same features that make Roblox engaging, such as private servers, user content, chat features, and platform connectivity, are the exact same features that predators and extremists exploit. And until these features are fundamentally redesigned with child safety as the priority, and not engagement nor profit, children will continue to die. Audree Heine died on December 2nd, 2024, 1 week after her 13th birthday. Her mother is now suing Roblox, Discord, and TikTok, but no lawsuit will bring Audree back.
In a town of just 2,400 people, Tumbler Ridge is now mourning the loss of several people after a school shooting Tuesday afternoon at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, one of the worst mass shootings in Canada's history. 8 people are dead, 2 victims are in critical condition.
Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, population about 2,500. Nested in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, about an hour south of the border with Alberta. It was built as a mining town in the 1980s, coal mostly, then the mines closed, then the town almost died. Then they reopened some of the mines and the town eventually came back to life. Small, quiet, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, the kind of place where you leave your front door unlocked. Nothing happens in Tumbler Ridge until February 12, 2026. That morning, an 18-year-old named Jesse Van Rootselaar walked into Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and started shooting. But I need to back up, because the school wasn't the first stop.
The suspect has been identified as 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar, who is a resident of Tumbler Ridge. Police have been quick to identify the suspect in yesterday's shooting, and the story emerging now is a much larger search for identity. Jesse was born as a biological male, who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly. Social media posts dating back 3 years sheds further light into Van Rootselaar's struggles, expressing their frustrations over wait times regarding hormone replacement therapy.
According to court documents and police statements released after the trial, Jesse's mother, Teresa Van Rootselaar, was found dead in the family home on Willowbrook Drive. She had been shot, and so has Jesse's 11-year-old stepbrother. Their bodies were later discovered by investigators after the school shooting, 2 victims before Jesse even left the house. Jesse's father, Jason Van Rootselaar, was not home. Court records from a 2015 custody case showed that Jason and Teresa had been separated for years. The same records describe Teresa's nomadic lifestyle, moving between provinces, and generally keeping the children's father from knowing where they were. The judge in that case used the phrase, reprehensible conduct, to describe Teresa's behavior. So Jesse lived with their mother, their stepbrother, no father in the house, and according to neighbors who spoke to the CBC News after the shooting, the family mainly kept to themselves, as nobody knew them very well. Nobody saw this coming, and most definitely, nobody saw Jesse would be this capable of doing something horrific. After the home, Jesse drove to the school, TUMBLER Ridge Secondary School, which primarily were from grades through 7 and 12, having about 300 students, and from there would commit the worst massacre in Canadian history, killing 9 people and injuring 27 others. Now let's head over to the victims that the perpetrator has killed, as they deserve to be remembered. The first one is Maya Gabala, age 12. She survived but barely, as she was shot multiple times and then airlifted to a children's hospital in Vancouver, where she underwent several surgeries. Her family asked for privacy, so they haven't spoken publicly as of yet. The next one are the 3 12-year-old girls whose name hasn't been released publicly. The Canadian government has strict privacy laws for minor victims. We know their ages, we know they were in 7th grade, and we know they all unfortunately died in their school. The next one are the 2 boys ages 12 and 13, also not named publicly. Both were found dead. And lastly, a 39-year-old teacher whose name was later released as Margaret Maggie Chen. She had worked at the school for 6 years and was known for bringing baked goods to staff meetings and staying up late to help students who were struggling with math, where she unfortunately leaves behind a husband and 2 children. 9 people died in total, including Jesse's mother and stepbrother at home. 9 victims, 9 families destroyed in a single morning. The 12-year-old girls who died most likely were born in 2014, and if you really think about it, they were born the same year Roblox was really starting to take off. They grew up with iPads on their hands. They never knew a world without online games, without social media, and most certainly without Roblox. And they died all because of an 18-year-old who spent years building shooting simulations on Roblox, and then someday decided to do it for real. Which leads us to, who was Jesse Van Rootselaar? Jesse Van Rootselaar was born in 2008. They used they/them pronouns, and according to court documents and statements from people who knew them, Jesse had a history of mental health struggles, which were later documented and well known to authorities. Police had visited the Van Rootselaar home multiple times for mental health concerns. Jesse had been apprehended under British Columbia's Mental Health Act multiple times before the shooting. Apprehended is a legal term that basically means taken into custody by police for a psychiatric evaluation. Jesse has also dropped out of school for 4 years before the shooting. From age 14 to 18, Jesse was mostly at home. No classes, no peers, and no social connection, just a house in a small town with unlimited access of the internet. So what did Jesse do during those 4 years? Well, according to evidence presented at the trial, Jesse spent a significant amount of time on Roblox, building games, playing, and talking to people on private servers, and eventually building a game that investigators would later describe as a shopping mall massacre simulation. The game was simple. You control a character in a mall. You can pick up different weapons, pistols, rifles, melee weapons. You can shoot other characters, and there's no objective beyond killing as many as possible. The other characters didn't fight back. They just ran, or just died in the scene. Jesse's Roblox username has not been released publicly, but investigators confirmed that the account was created in 2021, when Jesse was 13 years old. The mall shooting game was uploaded in late 2025, just a few months before the attack. How many people played it? We don't know, as Roblox hasn't released the data, but the game was online for at least 3 months before the shooting, possibly much longer. Here's the question nobody can answer. Did anyone report it? Did any player see the mass shooting simulator on a children's platform and think, maybe I should do something? Or did they just scroll past? Or worse, did they play it and say nothing? After the shooting, Roblox released a statement. Quote, "We have identified and removed the Roblox account connected to this horrifying incident, as well as any content associated with the suspect. We are committed to fully supporting law enforcement in their investigation. Our thoughts are with the victims and their families during this unimaginably difficult time." End quote. It's a good statement, professional, compassionate, the kind of thing a company says when they want to look like they care. But here's what the statement doesn't say. It doesn't say how the account was allowed to exist for years. It doesn't say how a mass shooting simulator was uploaded and stayed online for months. It doesn't say what changes Roblox has made since the shooting to prevent the next Jesse from building the next simulation. Because the truth is that Roblox knows about this, as there are thousands of shooting simulators on the platform right now, and not all of them are called Mass Shooting Simulator. Many of them have names like Mall Tycoon or City Life or Gun Testing Range. They're just hidden in plain sight. And Roblox moderation system, in which, if you remember, the Stanford Internet Observatory has found out that it fails to catch 68% of predatory language, and it's not catching these games either. The ADL report I mentioned earlier found out that creators of shooting simulations use specific tactics to avoid detection. They move gameplays into private servers where reporting is less likely. They share Discord links inside games, so the most extreme content happens off-platform entirely. Jess didn't invent any of this. He just learned it. From the same community that groomed Audree Heine, from the same forums, the same Discord servers, the same YouTube videos that teach deranged people how to build their dark fantasies on Roblox. The only difference between Jesse and the other kids building these games is that Jesse actually did it. Jesse was arrested at the scene, still alive, still armed, and police took him into custody without further violence. The trial lasted for 8 months, as Jesse pleaded guilty to 9 counts of first-degree murder. 9 because the deaths at home and the deaths at school were charged separately. The judge had no discretion to the sentence, life in prison, no parole for 25 years. At sentencing, the judge called the crime incomprehensible. She said, quote, "No words can capture the depth of loss suffered by the families of the victims. No sentence can bring back the children who died. No punishment can undo what happened on February 12, 2026. End quote. Jesse spoke at the sentencing. He apologized. He said that he was sorry. He said that he wished he could take it back. The victims' families sat in the front row. Some cried, some stared straight ahead. One mother, the mother of one of the 12-year-old girls, stood up and walked out while Jesse was speaking. Maya Gabala, the 12-year-old girl who survived, was not in the courtroom, and she was still in physical therapy, learning to walk again. I want to end this topic with something I can't stop thinking about. Jesse Van Rootselaar was 13 years old when they created the Roblox account. That's the same age as Audree Heine when she died. That's the same age as some of the children Jesse would later then kill. At 13, Jesse was lonely, struggling, dropping out of school, losing connection to any normal, healthy community, and they found Roblox. On Roblox, Jesse found people who thought like him, people who built games where killing was the point, people who didn't judge the fantasies, but rather who shared them, who encouraged them. For 4 years, Jesse built those fantasies, played them, redefined them, and made them more realistic, more satisfying. And then one day, the screen wasn't enough. Here's what I keep coming back to. Roblox has over 85 million daily active users, 40% of which are under 13. That's about 34 million children under 13 every single day, playing games on a platform where anyone can build a mass shooting simulator and leave it online for months without anyone stopping them. Jesse is now in prison. Jesse will die in prison. But there are other Jessies right now on Roblox building games, talking in private servers, waiting for someone to notice. And the question is, will anyone notice it before it's too late?
Well, a Prince George's County elementary school teacher accused of sexually abusing a student who was just 9 years old. We learned some disturbing details in a Maryland courtroom today when Mark Cobb was denied bond and will remain in jail until his trial. DC News Now, Dave Laval was in court.
44 years old, elementary school teacher, Copper Lane Elementary School in Landover Hills, Maryland. Grades pre-K through 6. He was a testing coordinator, the kind of job that requires background checks, fingerprints, references, the kind of job parents trusted without thinking twice. Cobb had been teaching at Copper Lane for a while. Not new, but established. The kind of teacher you wouldn't look at twice in the hallway. On August 25th, 2024, a Sunday, a 9-year-old girl told her mother something that would unveil everything. She said her former teacher had been sending her messages, text messages, and messages through Roblox. The mother called the police immediately. According to court documents obtained by multiple news outlets, Cobb had been contacting this girl for 14 months, from June 2023 to August 2024. She was his former student in 2nd and 3rd grade. That's how he knew her. That's how he had access to her phone number, probably through school records, through parent-teacher communication, and through the normal, everyday channels that teachers use. The girl told investigators she would chat with Cobb via text and on Roblox. Roblox has a chat feature, one that's supposed to be monitored, one that's supposed to have filters, and one that's supposed to keep children safe. Cobb used it to groom a 9-year-old. The charging document described what he said to her. He sent explicit messages, implying he wanted to engage in sexual acts. He asked for explicit photographs. She sent them. And in one communication, Cobb asked the child
if he could taste her,
which investigators later categorized as asking the victim to engage in sexual acts. Prince George County State Attorney Ashia Braveboy said it best. Quote, "I just can't imagine how sick a person has to be to have this type of conversation, a very sexually explicit conversation with a 9-year-old. With a 9-year-old. It's outrageous." End quote. When police interviewed Cobb on the day of his arrest, August 26, 2024, he waived his right to an attorney. He confirmed the exchanges between himself and the girl. He also admitted he was her teacher in 2nd and 3rd grade. And then he said something that should make your blood run cold. Because, according to court documents, Cobb told the police that when he texted the girl, he wanted to see how far she would go. Think about it for a while. A 44-year-old man, an elementary school teacher, someone who had daily access to children, someone whose job was to protect them. He was testing a 9-year-old girl, pushing her, seeing how much he could take, seeing how far she would go.
Which he received, and indicated he also wanted to have sex with her.
Those teachers and those who are, preying upon children, they are grooming children for their own personal sick desires.
The documents say Prince George's County Police found several hundred files of child pornography on Cobb's computer during a search of his home in Bowie. The victim, according to the papers, met with police Sunday. They interviewed Cobb Monday, in which the documents say he admitted to the crimes. The school district declined to say if Cobb is still employed. It did say counselors are available for students and parents if needed. Prosecutors believe there are more victims in this case. You're asked to contact Prince George's County Police if you suspect your child may be a victim. In Landover Hills, Maryland.
Police executed a search warrant at Cobb's home on Governor Bridge Road on Bowie, Maryland. And what they found is almost too disturbing to say out loud. because what they found were electronics in his home. Investigators found several hundreds of files depicting child pornography. Some of those files depicted children engaging in sex acts with adults. But it gets worse, because police found a black bag containing children's underwear, individually packaged. Several appeared to have been worn. The state attorney's office later confirmed that Cobb was also in possession of sexually explicit images of other children, not just the 9-year-old victim. Quote, "We know that there are other victims out there," end quote. Brave Boy said during a news conference. Quote, "Sometimes we think that there might be other victims. In this case, we know that there are other victims out there, and we want to get justice for them too," end quote. Cobb was arrested and charged with sexual abuse of a minor, 9 counts of possession of child pornography, and 1 count of possession of child pornography with intent to promote and distribute. He was held without bond. The principal of Copper Lane Elementary School released a statement confirming the deeply unsettling information and offering counselors for students and families. The school serves students in pre-K through 6th grade, meaning Cobb had access to children as young as 5. Prince George County Council Chair Jolene Ivey said, quote, "I'm still sick to my stomach from having to read the charging documents. It's the worst thing. And for that little girl, for her parents, for her schoolmates to know that a man was grooming this child and took advantage of her and get some kind of perverse pleasure out of this abuse. It's disgusting." End quote. In October 2024, a federal grand jury returned an indictment against Cobb. The charges were coercion and incitement of a child. The indictment narrowed the timeline of the coercion from approximately June 19, 2024 to approximately June 25, 2024. Just a week of communications that were explicit enough to land him in federal court. The Department of Justice announced that, if convicted, Cobb faced a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in federal prison and up to life in prison for coercion and incitement of a child, plus a maximum of 10 years for possession of child pornography. Federal prosecutors also noted that during the search of Cobb's home, they found sexually explicit images and videos of other children beyond the 9-year-old victim. Cobb used Roblox to contact a child, a platform with over 85 million daily active users, a platform where 40% of daily users were under the age of 13 in 2024, a platform that markets itself as safe for children. Roblox has a chat feature. That's how Cobb communicated with the girl. Roblox has parental controls, it has moderation, and it also has community standards. And yet none of it stopped a 44-year-old teacher from spending 14 months grooming a 9-year-old on the platform. The Stanford Internet Observatory found out that Roblox automated moderation fails to catch 68% of predatory language when it's disguised as roleplay. 68%. Cobb didn't need to disguise his language, he just needed to use Roblox chat, the same chat feature millions of children use every day. And the system didn't even flag it. Nobody reported it. Nobody stopped it. It took a 9-year-old girl telling her mother 14 months after it started for the abuse to end. But here's the fucked up thing about it. Cobb had a bag of children's underwear in his home, individually packaged. Several appeared to be worn. He had hundreds of files of child sexual abuse material on his hard drive. He had sexually explicit images of children who were not victim in this case, meaning that there are more victims out there, more children he had access to, and more children he had caused damage. And Roblox was one of his tools. Cobb is now in custody. He is facing life in prison. But he was a teacher. He had passed background checks. He had fingerprints on file. He had references. And none of it stopped him. Because the problem isn't just predators, the problem is the platform that gives them direct access to children, and a moderation system that fails to stop them until it's too late.
you can have an experience on Roblox as the shooter at Sandy Hook. Here's another one, the cafeteria.
The popular online gaming platform Roblox is coming under fire by Connecticut's Attorney General. The state is launching an investigation into the online gaming influence.
By late 2025, something had already shifted. It wasn't just families speaking out anymore, nor was it just news articles. It was attorney generals, federal judges, entire state governments, and they were all saying the same thing. Roblox had a problem, and they had known about it for years. In December 2025, the United States Judicial Panel on Multi-District Litigation made a decision. They ordered the centralization of all federal lawsuits alleging child sexual exploitation facilitated through Roblox. 31 actions pending in 12 federal districts, 48 additional related cases already identified, and all of them making the same basic allegations. According to the panel transfer order, these cases share common questions about whether Roblox knew its platform was being used by predators, whether it misrepresented the safety of its platform to families, whether it had the means to implement effective parental controls and safety features, and whether it failed to warn families about known risk. The panel rejected Roblox's opposition, and the company had argued that facilitated differences among cases outweighed any common issues. They said the cases were too different to combine. The panel disagreed, as they found out that plaintiffs across the country were alleging invisible injuries arising from the combined use of defendants' platforms. The cases are now before Chief U.S. District Judge Richard C. Borg in the Northern District of California, Roblox home turf. At the time of consolidation, nearly 150 lawsuits have been filed within the MDL. That number has only grown. But the federal lawsuits were just the beginning, and state attorney generals started filing their own actions, and they didn't hold back. Take for instance Kentucky. In October 2025, Attorney General Russell Coleman sued Roblox, calling it a website of choice for child predators. The complaint alleges that Roblox created a playground for predators, and that the platform knowingly permitted an online environment for exploitation. Coleman cited a 25-year-old Kentucky man who ties to an extremist extortion group called 764, who pled guilty to grooming and extorting children as young as 8 using various online platforms including Roblox. The group 764 is known to utilize Roblox among other platforms for its extortion schemes. Coleman said, quote, "Our children are not safe on Roblox. Predators and criminals aren't just lurking in the platform's shadows. They're being allowed to commit their crimes out in the open. For years, Roblox has ignored this crisis so it could continue turning into a profit." End quote. Another state that we will be looking at would be Louisiana. In August 2025, Attorney General Liz Morrill filed a similar lawsuit accusing Roblox of enabling predators, failing to verified ages, and allowing child sexual abuse material on its platform. She described the platform as an open season for predators. The next one we'll be looking at is Nebraska. In March 2026, Attorney General Mike Higlers filed a customer protection and child safety lawsuit. The complaint alleges that Roblox allows direct contact between minors and adult predators through private messaging and voice chat. It also alleges that Roblox hosts sexually explicit violence and age-inappropriate content, often accessible to children as young as 6. Hilger said, quote, "Parent deserves the truth. Roblox has built a multi-billion-dollar business on the trust of families, and while creating a playground for predators and exposing children to graphic and dangerous content." End quote. Another one we'll be looking at is Los Angeles County. In February 2026, the County of Los Angeles sued Roblox, alleging unfair and deceptive business practices. The lawsuit alleges that children in Los Angeles County have been repeatedly exposed to sexual explicit content, exploitation, and grooming because Roblox chooses corporate profit over safety of the children. County Counsel Doyne R. Harrison said, quote, "This is not about minor lapse in safety. It's about a company that gives pedophiles powerful tools to prey on innocent and unsuspecting children." End quote. Another one that we'll be looking at is Oklahoma, as in September 2025, Attorney General Glenn Drummond announced he was taking the first steps towards legal action. His office issued a request for proposals to hire outside counsel. And lastly, Indiana, Florida, Texas, and Iowa all have also pursued litigation connected to child safety concerns on the platform. The complaint in Kentucky specifically alleges violations of the State Consumer Protection Act, unjust enrichment, negligence, and failure to warn parents and kids of the platform's dangers. But behind the headlines and the press conference are real children, real families, real stories that will never leave you. Take for instance Audree Heine. You already know her story. 13 years old, Kentucky, died by suicide 1 week after her birthday. Her mother, Jermaine Stitch, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Roblox and Discord. The lawsuit alleges Audree was groomed by the true crime community on Roblox, the same community we discussed in Tier 1. According to the filing, Audree began using Roblox at the age of 8. Her mother had set up parental controls believing they would ensure safety. The complaint describes how TCC encouraged violence and self-harm, and it alleges that Audree was exposed to emotional manipulation and social pressure by members of the community. As her mental health deteriorated, she recorded a countdown in her journal, a countdown to her own death. The lawsuit alleges that the platform allowed predators to contact Audree and allowed these relationships to flourish until her death. Another one that's very similar would be Jane Doe RM, an 11-year-old girl from Florida. She was groomed on Roblox and on Discord, then lured into a meeting where a predator drove from Orlando to Sebring, Florida, picked her up from her grandfather's house, and drove her to a nearby neighborhood where he then violently raped her and forced her to perform oral sex. The predator was eventually convicted. The lawsuit filed by Dolman Law Group alleges that Roblox design choices such as open chat systems, weak verification checks, and no meaningful parent consent gave predators an easy way to connect with children. Another similar case is an 80-year-old boy from Texas. A female predator approached him on Roblox, posing as a child his age. She gained his trust, groomed him, and convinced him to share his personal phone number. From there, she sent explicit images and coerced him to sending one himself. The lawsuit alleges Roblox platform design, such as open chat and verification checks, made the abuse possible. The lawsuit also highlights something I haven't mentioned yet: Robux. Predators often use Roblox in-game currency to exploit children. According to the Texas lawsuit, predators often use free Robux to children, first as gifts, then in exchange for private conversations, personal contact information, and eventually, explicit images. A 10-year-old boy from Georgia, groomed by multiple adults on Roblox starting when he was 9. The abuse escalated to extortion, where predators coerced him to produce explicit images. A 6-year-old girl from Utah, an adult predator posing as a child contacted her through Roblox in-game messaging, where he then groomed her, then migrated the conversation to Facebook, where he coerced her into sending explicit photos of herself. A 12-year-old girl from Oklahoma, where a 40-year-old man posed as a 15-year-old boy on Roblox, gained her trust and coerced her into sending explicit photos of herself. He then threatened to kill her family if she didn't continue complying. An 11-year-old girl from Michigan, groomed on a Roblox game, then lured into meeting a predator in person, where she was sexually assaulted and blackmailed with recorded footage. The lawsuit also alleges the predator used Roblox as leverage. 14-year-old girl from North Carolina, groomed on Roblox at age 13. Then the abuse continued on Discord. 10-year-old girl from Michigan, groomed and extorted on Roblox by a predator who posed as a child. 10-year-old girl from California, groomed, kidnapped, and sexually assaulted. Her case is notable for the key legal victory. The court denied Roblox and Discord motions to force the case into a confidential arbitration, allowing the claims to proceed in open court. Between 2019 and 2024, reports of child extortion cases on Roblox jumped from 675 to over 24,000. That's a 3,400% increase in just 5 years. Roblox reported 68.5 million daily active users in 2023, and by 2024, that number had grown to nearly 83 million. Over 40% of daily active users are under the age of 13. And again, as I said in previous tier, the Stanford Internet Observatory found out that Roblox automation moderation fails to catch about 68% of predatory language when disguised as roleplay. I mentioned this before, and I'm mentioning it again because it matters. A former Roblox employee also told investigators, quote, "You can either keep players safe and have fewer users, or let them do whatever they want, which looks good for investors," end quote. Think about it for a while. A former employee said that, on the record, in a court filing. This is highly concerning.
More than 250 miles away from her home.
So when did you discover she was 10 years old?
Ooh. I would say, because, I'm sorry, it like sickens me every time I hear that age. I think when I was questioned.
Naval is facing 7 felony charges, including kidnapping and lewd acts with a minor. He has pleaded not guilty.
It was just holding hands of some sort. She's pretty much holding hands most of the time.
No sexual actions, no sexual conversation?
No, ma'am.
KGET also asking Naval about his attorney's remarks that he's on the autism spectrum.
No, I believe that's my job position. I did work with kids who are on the spectrum with autism. Yeah, I was just starting for my second day in field training.
After the interview, attorney Mark Anthony Raimondo telling NBC News these are sensational allegations against him.
I want to spend a moment on something that keeps coming up in these lawsuits. It's something most parents don't know about, or probably have heard about it only once. Robux. Roblox in-game currency. Kids can earn it, buy it, or get it as gifts, and predators have figured out exactly how to weaponize it. According to the Texas lawsuit, predators have often offered free Robux to children. At first, it's a gift. They usually send free items to them for free that would usually be quite expensive. Then it escalates. If they want more free things, they should do something very inappropriate and quite literally illegal. Then it becomes coercion. They'll say things like, quote, "If you don't send me what I want, I'll tell your parents what we've been doing," end quote. Robux is the lifeblood of how Roblox makes money. It's also become the currency of child exploitation on the platform. And Roblox knows this. The lawsuit alleges that Roblox has known about this pattern for years, but fails to take meaningful action because stronger protections might lower user engagement and revenue. Here's something that matters legally. Roblox and Discord have been trying to force these cases into a confidential authoritarian. That means closed doors, no public records, no transparency. In February 2026, a California court denied these motions. The court held that the ending force arbitrarian of sexual assault and sexual harassment acts applies to these cases, allowing them to proceed in open court rather than confidential authoritarian. The court rejected Roblox's arguments that the law is limited to workplace disputes. The judge emphasized that the statute applies to any case which relates to sexual assault dispute, and that Congress intentionally used expensive language. That's a significant victory for the families. This means that these cases will be heard publicly, the evidence will be examined in the open, and Roblox won't be able to hide behind closed doors. The families represented by Anna Powys, the firm handling many of these cases, have sent public letters to the board of directors of Roblox and Discord, urging them to voluntarily abandon forced authoritarian in cases involving minors. Quote, "Children cannot be forced into surrogacy after suffering serious harm," end quote, said Pat Hallett, who leads the litigation for Anna Powys. Quote, "If a platform markets itself as safe for kids, it cannot evade public accountability when that safety fails," end quote. So what is the pattern? It basically goes like this. A child, often young, often struggling, plays Roblox, they play games, and they make friends. They feel like they belong. An adult posing as a child finds them, they become friends, they play together, and they move to private servers, then Discord, then to text, such as Snapchat or direct messages. The adult gains trust. The adult gives gifts, such as Robux mostly. The adult offers validation or something to manipulate the child. Then the adult starts pushing the boundaries. They'll start sending pictures or something personal that the child didn't ask. And if the child refuses, they'll threaten his life. Some children comply, some fight back, and some, like Audree Heine, see no way out. And Roblox? Well, Roblox just profits from every single interaction, every game played, every Robux spent, every user added to their daily active count. The lawsuits allege that Roblox knew this was happening. Internal reports, moderation logs, law enforcement inquiries. They knew, but they didn't change their design. They didn't implement real age verification. They didn't shut down the private servers, and they did not stop the predators from contacting children, because safety costs money. And in the world of quarterly earning reports, safety is just another line item. The lawsuits are not just about the money. They seek injunctive relief, basically court orders requiring Roblox to change its practices, age verification, better moderation, and real parental controls, and also transparency about risk. In Kentucky, the Attorney General's complaints seek penalties of up to $2,000 per willful violation, plus another fines and penalties. Los Angeles County seeks up to $2,500 per day for each violation of law. But more than money, the families want accountability. They want Roblox to admit what they did. They want changes so other children don't suffer the same fate. Annapol Will's attorney, Alexander Walsh, put it this way, quote, "The trauma that results is horrific, from grooming to exploitation, the actual assault. In this case, a child lost her life. This needs to stop," end quote. Let me step back for a moment. This tier 4, is about the lawsuits, but it's also about something much bigger. It's about how Roblox has failed, a platform that prioritized engagement over safety, a company that made promises it didn't keep, a regulatory environment that moved too slowly. The lawsuits are piling up, the states are investigating, the federal government is watching. But here's a question that Roblox should definitely answer, and when will we get this answer? How many more children have to be hurt before something actually changes? Because right now, right this second, there's a child on Roblox, they're playing a game, they're probably having fun, and someone is about to send them a friend request. That's what this is about. That's why the lawsuits matter. That's why the evidence matters. And that's why you're watching this. It's not to be scared or anything, but it's to mainly be informed of what's going on Roblox. Because many people are mostly unaware what Roblox has really become over the past few years. For example, if you go to the catalog section and you look at morphs or body figures, you will most likely see in the UGC shop that there are these inappropriate body shape forms. It literally promotes sexual themes in a child's game, and it's something that many people, especially developers, are aware of, yet many people don't know about it or just keep a close blind eye to it.
And Roblox is announcing new measures aimed at protecting minors. The company says it's rolling out age-based chats and facial age estimation technology to eliminate communication between adults and kids on their platforms. Now, this is a first, and the company hopes it will set a new standard for the gaming industry. The announcement also comes amid a flurry of lawsuits over child safety. ABC's Rena Roy has the details. So, Rena, how will this work?
We've talked about individuals, predators, teachers, teenagers with severe mental illnesses, and direct access to Roblox. But here's where it gets worse, because people using Roblox to hurt children aren't just acting alone. They might be a part of networks, organized groups. Some of them are classified as terrorist organizations by the United States government. Let me introduce you to 764. You probably never heard of 764. That's by design. That's because they don't want you to know that they exist. The FBI calls 764 one of the most disturbing things we're seeing. That's a quote from David Scott, an assistant director of the FBI Counterterrorism Division. He said this in May 2025. 764 is a transnational sextortion network. They're classified as a Tier 1 terrorism threat by the FBI. Founded in 2021 by a teenager from Stephenville, Texas named Brandley Corehead. He named the group after his zip code, 764. What did they do? According to the Department of Justice, 764 is a network of nihilistic violent extremists who engage in criminal conduct in the United States and abroad. Their goal is to destroy civilized society through the corruption of exploitation in vulnerable populations, which often include minors. Let me break that down. They're not just predators, they're terrorists. They want to destroy society, and they're using platforms like Roblox to do it. The FBI has more than 250 active investigations into 764, with every single field office nationwide handling at least one 764 related case. Here's how they operate. Members of 764 pose as children on platforms like Roblox, Discord, and Snapchat. They target kids as young as 9. They befriend them, gain their trust, and then coerce them into sending explicit images. But it doesn't stop there, as 764 doesn't want photos. They also want to break their victims. They pressure children to hurt themselves, to hurt their siblings, to kill family pets, to commit suicide. They host watch parties where members basically watch each other torment victims live online. The FBI says members of 764 are awarded for cruelty. Quote, the more gore, the more violence, the more that they victimize these kids, that raises their stature within the groups. It's a sort of badge of honor within some of these groups to actually do the most harm to victims, end quote. Let me give you an example. A 21-year-old named Leonidas Varagianis, also known as War, was arrested in Greece. He was a leader of 764, along with another leader named Parsa Nepal, also known as Trippy, from North Carolina. Varagianis operated an international child exploitation enterprise. The DOJ accused them of threatening and causing victims to engage in self-mutilation, online and in-person sexual acts, harm to animals, sexual exploitation of siblings, acts of violence, threat of violence, suicide, and murder. This isn't a bunch of kids playing games. This is an organized criminal network, a terrorist network, and they use Roblox to find their victims.
Warning from the FBI, watch what your kids are doing online. Federal officials continue to talk about the extremist group 764. It's a violent online extremist network that targets teenagers and kids, and that threat extends to families right here in our state. Sasha Loftus joining us live in the newsroom. Terrifying to hear this for parents. Sasha has more on this group's message.
Yes, Brian, the FBI here in Las Vegas telling our 8 News Now investigators that this is important to know about the threat, especially for families and parents, as you said. Now, the extremist group originated about 5 years ago, and since then, the FBI has investigated hundreds of people tied to the network. Agents say abusers target teenagers and kids online using platforms like Discord, Roblox, or even social media apps, specifically looking for those dealing with mental health challenges and convince them to carry out shootings or other violent acts, or even to harm themselves. Special Agent in Charge Chris Delzato says this is all happening right here in Southern Nevada.
Our office has multiple 764 investigations pending. We have both subjects or abusers located in this state, and we certainly have victims in this state. Most of the victims are school age, Clark County.
Let me tell you about another predator, Chase William Mulligan, 28 years old, Silver Spring, Maryland. Between 2019 and 2023, Mulligan ran a sextortion scheme that targeted at least 108 victims, mostly girls, some boys, ages between 5 and 17. He mainly used apps like Snapchat, Discord, Roblox, Skype, Omegle, and Instagram. He met children on Roblox, gained their trust, then moved them to other platforms where he could control the conversation. He then coerced them into sending sexually explicit photos and videos. When they wanted to stop, he threatened them. He said he would post the images online. He also said he would come to their house, where he would then hurt them. Here's the fucked up thing about it. Court documents showed that Mulligan convinced multiple minors to insert objects into their private parts or take part in sexual acts with dogs. He filmed it all. He made them send it to him. He had victims across the United States, Canada, Denmark, Spain, and the Philippines, Australia, and the United Kingdom. 108 victims, most of them children, and the youngest was 5 years old. Leslie Adamczyk, who heads the FBI Violent Crimes Against Children Task Force in Maryland, said, quote, "We've seen a huge rise in these cases, and the average age is 10 to 17, which even that blows my mind," end quote. In February 2026, Mulligan was sentenced to 50 years in federal prison, where he'll be 78 when he gets out, if he gets out. But here's something that I want you to know about. Mulligan didn't act alone, as he used Roblox as a hunting ground, and Roblox, with its 85 million daily active users, didn't stop him for 4 years. You already heard about TCC, but I want to go a bit deeper. The ADL report I mentioned earlier, the one about the active shooter studios, makes a connection I haven't yet talked about. The ASS is a part of a larger true crime community online subculture. The TCC adheres to have a disturbing fascination with serial killers and mass murderers, often creating dark memes and fanfiction glorifying killers and their crimes. But here's what the ADL found that's even more disturbing. The maps created by ASS aren't just violent, they're extremely detailed and accurate, designed to mimic the mass shootings they're based on with unsettling accuracy and gore. In the Columbine map, players can take on the role of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, where they can walk through the school, shoot virtual students, and can dismember other characters, and when police arrive, they either die fighting or commit suicide. In the UV8 map, students clearly depicted as children are programmed to hide under their desk or play dead when the shooting begins. Players can also alter the avatar to resemble the assailant. And here's what the ADL says that really matters. Quote, "Because such games recreate extremist-related mass shootings, such as the 2022 Buffalo shooting, in which the perpetrator deliberately targeted and killed black people, they may also serve as a gateway to extremist content, in which players may be prompted to seek out more information about these violent events, which can then lead them to manifestos or videos created by the attackers. In some cases, they may also encounter content produced by white supremacists, which glorifies these killers and aims to radicalize others to follow in their footsteps." End quote. The ADL makes a direct connection between TCC and white supremacist groups, as they want to provoke societal collapse through mass violence. They want people who are already obsessed with death and killing, and then they simply nudge them into their preferred direction. The creators of these games know exactly how to avoid Roblox moderation, as they use private servers. You can pay for private servers on Roblox, and when you're in a private server, you control who joins. That basically means less risk of being reported, less risk of being detected by Roblox moderation. And the ASS runs a private Discord server with about 500 members. They also run a Roblox community with about 800 members where they share announcements and promote the Discord server. They sell merchandise such as shirts with their game logos that users can equip on their avatars. When Roblox shuts down a game, they just re-upload a new one under a different name. Carbine becomes Library Simulator. Active Shooter Studios becomes ASS Roleplay, and it just keeps going on from there. But here's the thing, because a Roblox spokesperson told Bloomberg, quote, "The vast majority of the community on our platform doesn't seek the ASS content, and it's not easily searchable through our site discovery mechanism. And because of the swift, proactive safety measures we placed in, it's very unlikely users will be exposed to such content on our platform." End quote. But the ADL found it otherwise, as the group has turned into TikTok to promote their content, such as YouTube, and shared links in the comments, bios, and in private messages, where they can recruit naive kids. When Bloomberg observed one ASS group game, more than 60 players gathered in a recreation of Columbine. Their avatars form a mob in front of a school holding pitchforks and repeating their white supremacist slogan, "You will not replace us." Players with guns shot students, while other players dressed as police officers tried to gun down the attackers. And if you do a little bit of research, these games aren't really quite hard to find, which is very concerning, especially for a children's game.
That's right. Shocking to hear the testimony in court. An FBI agent explained just how dangerous this network known as 764 is to society. The FBI agent saying it targets minors, specifically girls, exploiting them. Now the I-team is uncovering new information about one of the accused leaders. This man who lives not far from the triangle, who's now behind bars. Prashan Nepal, a 20-year-old from High Point charged with child exploitation enterprise. The I-team there when Nepal appeared in federal court in Greensboro Tuesday, where authorities say he is one of the leaders of the violent extremist network known as 764. According to an affidavit unsealed today in D.C., 764 is a violent online network that seeks to destroy civilized society through the corruption and exploitation of vulnerable populations, including minors. The FBI says members of the 764 groom minors that they meet online.
Relationships which might appear to be innocuous at first, and then progressing to a place where they're asking for individuals to comply with their demands, production of photos, and beginning a cycle of control and fear.
Let me read you some of the cases that have been filed. A 12-year-old girl from Nevada, where a predator claimed to be a teenage boy. He groomed her on Roblox, moved to text messages, and coerced her into sending explicit images. A 15-year-old boy from Florida, where a predator claimed to be a 16-year-old boy. He groomed the boy on Roblox, convinced him to meet in person, stole his bike, and coerced him into visiting his home, where he was sexually harassed and offered alcohol and drugs. A 12-year-old girl from Alabama, she was targeted by 2 adult predators on 2 different occasions. One coerced her into meeting him in prison, where she was sexually assaulted. Another groomed her via Snapchat and coerced her into sending explicit images. A 21-year-old woman from Minnesota, starting at the age of 9, she was groomed by multiple predators on Roblox. By the age of 10, the predators had moved her to Snapchat and Discord. They paid her in exchange for custom explicit content, where they sold explicit videos she produced as a minor. The age abuse continued until she was 15, where police recovered approximately 56,000 images of child sexual abuse material on her phone. A 13-year-old girl from West Virginia was groomed by a predator who claimed to be a 16-year-old boy. He used Snapchat location to physically locate her, and she was abducted and sexually abused. A 15-year-old girl from Indiana was groomed by a predator who has been publicly identified by another Roblox user as a known predator. Despite this, he arranged for an Uber to transport her from Indiana to New Jersey, where she was sexually assaulted multiple times over several days. A 16-year-old boy from Louisiana was targeted by a predator on Roblox. He exchanged explicit images and videos with the predator in exchange for money through Roblox and Snapchat. I could keep going, as there are dozens of these cases, dozens. Anapil Willis, the law firm representing many of these families, has now filed more than 20 lawsuits, as they represent families from Kentucky, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, Mississippi, Tennessee, Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, Maryland, Louisiana, Alabama, Minnesota, Nevada, and Texas. The pattern is undeniable, as Roblox markets itself as safe for children. It has community standards, has parental controls, and has moderation, and none of it works. Because the predators know how their game works, they know how to avoid detection, they know how to move children off platform, they know how to weaponize Roblox, and they certainly know how to privatize servers. And all of this, Roblox knows this is happening, as the lawsuits allege they've known this for years. A former Roblox employee told investigators, quote, "You can either keep players safe and have fewer users, or let them do what they want, which looks good for investors," end quote. That's a choice Roblox made, engagement over safety. profit over children, and children are dying. Audree Heine is dead. Ethan Dallas is dead. The children in Tumbler Ridge are dead. The children in Uvalde are dead. The children at Columbine are dead. And right now, right this second, there could be a child somewhere on Roblox that could be developing these harmful things as we speak, and most of us might not even know. And that's Volume 3. Ethan Dallas, 15 years old, autistic, groomed on Roblox by a 37-year-old man who had already been charged with child pornography, died by suicide in April 2024. Audree Heine, 13 years old, manipulated by the true crime community, died 1 week after her birthday, December 2024. Jesse Van Rootselaar, 18 years old, building mass shooting simulation on Roblox, walked into a school in British Columbia and killed 9 people, February 2026. Mark Edward Cobb, 44 years old, elementary school teacher, used Roblox to groom a 9-year-old, asked her if, quote, he could taste her, end quote, had a bag of children's underwear in his home, arrested in August 2024, and indicted in October of 2024. Taze Mulligan, 28 years old, targeted 108 victims, youngest of 5, used Roblox to find them, sentenced to 50 years in February 2026. The 764 Network, a terrorist organization by the FBI, uses Roblox to recruit children, encourage self-harm, encourage suicide, murder, and has over 250 active investigations. Every FBI field office has a case. And Roblox? Roblox reported 83 million daily active users in 2024, over 40% of which are under 13. Reports of children exploitation on the platform has jumped from 675 in 2019 to over 24,000 in 2024. That's a 3,400% increase. And the Stanford Internet Observatory found out that automatic moderation fails to catch 68% of predatory language when disguised as roleplay. The lawsuits are also piling up, as there are over 150 cases already filed. Attorney generals from Kentucky, Louisiana, Nebraska, Los Angeles. The federal government is watching, and the FBI is investigating. But here's the thing, none of this will bring back the children that have died. None of that stops what's happening right now. At this very moment, on Roblox, a child is being groomed, a child is being manipulated, a child is being pushed towards self-harm, a child is probably being told that they're worthless, that nobody cares, and that the only way is to find out, is to end it, and someone is about to send them a friend request. I didn't make this video to spread fearmonger. I made this because someone needs to tell the truth. As there are many YouTubers out there making similar content to what I'm doing, I want to do the same thing, to make my voice heard. And I think this is something that every YouTuber within the Roblox community should address. Roblox does not want you to see this. They do not want you to know about Ethan, about Audree, about the Tumbler Ridge and how it's connected to Roblox, about the teacher with the bag of underwear, about 764, about the 108 victims, about the 24,000 reports, and about the 68% failure rate. But now you know. So the question is, what are you going to do? If you're a parent, check your child's phone. Talk to them about online safety. Ask them about their friends. Ask them about their games. Know what's happening in their digital life, and most certainly ask them if they have any other friends outside of Roblox that are online, because predators are counting on you not knowing. They're counting on you being too busy, too trusting, and too late. Don't let them.